Hi everybody, I'm Trish Christ. In this episode of Our Nashville, NECAT and our super crew of teenagers spend some time with Gilda's Club, Middle Tennessee. President and CEO Sandy Obazinski and her team are going to show and tell us all the cool things they do in our community.
Let's go behind the red door. It's our Nashville.
It's our Nashville.
It's our Nashville.
It's our Nashville.
We all know how to talk about our organization during meetings, but what about the chance encounter of a lifetime? You never know who may share your next elevator, notice your logo on a notebook or a tote bag, and ask what you do. What's the clearest, most persuasive thing you can say in a short elevator ride?
Gilda's Club is a community of people whose lives have been impacted by cancer. And as a community, we offer free social and emotional support to anyone impacted by any cancer at any point in their experience.
Sandy Obazinski, I could not be happier to talk to you about what you do now. Let's start with the fact that even though it sounds crazy to me, some people might not know who Gilda Radner was. So let's start with the simple, who was Gilda Radner?
I love that because we do still come across that question of people wondering who she was. So Gilda Radner was one of the original cast members on Saturday Night Live. And you can certainly, it's amazing, it's a wonderful thing on YouTube. You can find old videos of her and her characters. Personally, my favorite was Rosanna Dana.
Me too. Yep.
That was one of her most fun characters that I remember. But she was an original cast member along with that whole crew in the mid 70s. And after she left the show, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And she had extraordinary medical treatment, whether she was on the East Coast or the West Coast. Her medical treatments were fantastic. But one of the things that she found was when she was on the West Coast, there was an organization out there that provided emotional and social support. There was a place for her to go, for Gene Wilder, her husband, to go, where the people there just got it. And you could walk in and however you were was okay, whether you were good or bad or tired or sick. It was come as you are, and it was just such a strong community of support. But when they went back to the East Coast, that didn't exist. That kind of organization and that community didn't exist.
That was called the Wellness Center, I think?
Yeah, that was the Wellness Community.
The Wellness Community in California.
Yeah, and so that was really sprouting up on the West Coast. You know, in the 80s, that was sprouting up. And after Gilda Radner passed, her husband, some friends like Mandy Patinkin and others, and her psychotherapist, Joanna Bull, they all got together to honor Gilda. And they began the very first Gilda's Club in New York City. And just a few years later, in 1998, was when the Nashville Gilda's Club opened. And the philosophy and the model is very similar to what the wellness community was doing on the West Coast. So they continued to grow on the West Coast. Gilda's Club started sprouting on the East Coast. And, you know, we exist for everyone. So even though Gilda was a woman, even though she had ovarian cancer, what her friends and family recognized was that everyone needs support when their life is touched by cancer. So we exist for everyone, every cancer type, men, women, children, families. If people have experienced a loss from cancer and are trying to deal with that bereavement, that's what we exist for, to provide support and community, and all of that is provided at no charge to everyone who walks through the red door.
Well, there's our whole interview. Thank you for coming. That is amazing to me and beautiful that was your answer to who was Gilda Radner. I mean, look at the legacy she has left.
It's extraordinary. It really is extraordinary. You know, we've had people ask us, was it harder now to be a Gilda's Club when people don't really know who Gilda was? And I really think it's the opportunity to share the story and how she lived her life was also seen in how she lived with her cancer. And one of her great sayings, it's fabulous, is it's always something. And before she had cancer, when she had cancer, it's always something. There's always something that can happen in your life. But she found humor in everyday life before she had cancer. And she used humor as a tool to bond with people, to build community, and to relieve some of the stress and all the emotions that go with having cancer. Sometimes you gotta laugh about some stuff that seems pretty crazy.
Right.
To laugh about.
The absurdity of what happens even in good times.
Absolutely.
Yes. She was diagnosed in 1986, and I believe 3 years later, in 1989, she passed away. And here we are, decades beyond that, and I mean, I loved her in the 70s and the 80s. That's my heyday, and those are my SNL years. And so, when I think of Gilda Radner, I do think of that vibrant, silly, fun-loving, self-deprecating bundle of happy. And so, what better person could there be to remind folks in troubling times of, you know what, we're all still those things too.
Yeah. I think in everything you just said, I really think that encapsulates the community at Gilda's Club, because our philosophy is come as you are. And whether that's you're having a great day, you got good news, you got tough news, you feel bad, you're really upset that you can't eat your favorite food because it doesn't taste the same anymore, whatever it may be, you come as you are. And this community, they embrace each other, our members. We call them members because they're part of Gilda's Club.
It's a clubhouse.
It's a club. And as Gilda said, cancer made her part of a club she never wanted to belong to.
Tell me what happens when someone walks through that red door for the first time.
So for the first time, what we like to do, because it's a community, is really welcome people in first for a tour and an information session. And what that hour does is it really models the community and what we offer. So one of our clinical program staff, we have clinical social workers on staff, they will meet with a group of people. It could be 3, 4, up to 8, 10 people maybe, for one of those introduction sessions. It's really an orientation to who we are, Gilda's story, our founder's story for why she founded Gilda's Club in Nashville, all that we offer, and sort of some of the rules of the road. You know, when you have a lot of people coming through your doors who have compromised immune systems, you cannot walk through the door with a sniffle. It's really the healthiest work environment in many respects, because you know how we have to power through. No, at Gilda, stay home. Keep your germs to yourself, because when people are so compromised with their immune systems, a simple cold can be devastating. And then they tour our building, which is 9,000 square feet. We're in Midtown, just off Music Row. And we have a teaching kitchen. We have multi-purpose space for yoga and qigong and guided imagery and workshops and lectures and all those kinds of things. Plus there's support group rooms, because with our support groups, chances are if the person who has cancer is coming for their support group, somebody probably brought them or drove them. And that person needs support too. They need a friends and family group where they can express the stuff that they're dealing with and not feel guilty about it. They're in a space with others who can say, I get that. I feel that too. I understand. Then the next step is what we call a customized membership plan. So if someone is dealing with cancer or any of these other issues of caregiving and nutrition, and they're worried about finances and all this kind of stuff, if you come to Gilda's Club and you have a brochure and a big calendar with more than 100 activities a month, where do you even know how to begin? So that next step of sitting down one-to-one individually to have a conversation with one of our social workers, it's an opportunity for the social worker to understand what are the real stressors in this person's life. What are the things that are causing them the most angst, the most sleepless nights? Obviously a big thing is communication that stresses people a lot. And so all of that sort of gets discovered in that conversation. And then our clinicians help that person find a roadmap for themselves based on their interests, based on their preferences. Our staff can then suggest, this might be a great place to start. You might want to do some creative arts activities or attend a cooking class or a lecture just to start to get to know people or to get a feel for Gilda's Club. Other people walk in the door and they're like, I want a support group. And they know very clearly that that's what they want, that's what they need, and they want to plug into really the commitment to a support group that is an ongoing commitment because of the relationships that are formed and the bonds that are formed in those groups.
So I am Liz Geller. I am a program manager here at Gilda's Club. I facilitate a couple of support groups. I welcome people to Gilda's Club when they do the orientation sessions, and I sort of tell them about who we are and what we do. Our main programs here include support groups, which are weekly groups, and those really focus on sort of building connections between people. So people come to a weekly support group, they come every week at the same time with the same group of people, and that's really to build that intimacy and that support network. We also have something called networking groups, which are groups that meet once or twice a month, and those are more diagnosis-specific groups. So we have a wide variety of workshops and classes. We have movement classes, things like Tai Chi and yoga. We have art classes like glass painting and quilting and watercolors classes. We have cooking classes, which are some of my favorite classes. We have educational lectures. We have lunch and learns and dinner lectures. Everything program-wise that we offer is always open to people with a diagnosis and also their family members and friends and loved ones and caregivers. I hope that the biggest part of what people feel when they come here is that they are not alone. Cancer can be a very isolating experience. Sometimes people find that when a diagnosis happens, the people around them just don't really know how to respond in a way that's helpful. And that's just because they haven't been through it themselves. And so being part of a community where you're surrounded by people who really deeply understand what that's like can really help people feel like they are not alone with all of this.
The clubhouse itself is fantastic. And let's talk a little bit about what happens in that wonderful kitchen area that you have.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Think about your kitchens at home. When people come over to gather for a holiday, for Sunday afternoon, where do people land? They land in the kitchen. They gather around the island, and that's where a lot of community happens just in our everyday lives. And so we see that at Gilda's Club as well. What we offer in our teaching kitchen is a whole variety of different classes, everything from how to make kombucha, healthy and light appetizers around the holidays, Italian cooking. A really special class actually recently that two of our staff offered was learning how to cook after your partner has passed when that person was the cook.
Wow.
I have to say too, I think a lot of people visit Gilda's Club for the first time and they almost expect it to be sad.
Oh, it is not sad.
It's not.
No.
They, sort of expect like, I'm going to this place for cancer support. Who wants to walk in a place and need cancer support?
Right. But as soon as you put a foot in that door,
Exactly.
there's a library and comfy couches and
Yeah.
laughter in that room and guitars coming
Yeah.
out of that room.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So someone said just a couple weeks ago at Gilda's Club, they said, Gilda's Club is where you can really find your hope.
I'm Julie Fitz, and this is my husband, Earl Fitz. We have been involved with Gilda's Club for over 12 years now, and we first visited Gilda's Club because one of our 4 kids had been diagnosed with brain cancer. And we were totally devastated, laid flat. It's a pretty horrendous thing to have happen to a family. And our son's oncologist suggested that he consider checking into Gilda's Club. and he lost some vision to his cancer and wasn't driving. So Earl and I dropped him off for a new member meeting at Gilda's Club, and we picked him up an hour later, and he walked out, and I said, "How was it?" And he said, "I'm just going to say that I'm coming back, and I told him my parents would be here tomorrow night." And
we
thank
were.
goodness. Thank goodness.
That was a great step.
It has helped not only our son, the family member who has cancer, but it's helped us as his parents, and our other 3 children have all visited Gilda's Club and dropped in on support groups and special events. So it really is something that has benefited the entire family. We feel that Gilda's Club has really helped our family function as opposed to being dysfunctional with all the stress and trauma of having a cancer diagnosis in the family. I want to make sure I add the good news here, and that's that our son, who was diagnosed at 28, will be 41 next week. And we are just very fortunate, very happy, very grateful that he's a 12-and-a-half-year survivor. And we have, thanks to Gilda's Club, which has played a huge part in our experience as a family, thanks to Gilda's Club, these 12-and-a-half years have really been pretty wonderful.
Right, a lot of the things that divide people in the world outside of Gilda's Club simply don't obtain here. They don't apply. They don't exist here. This place is such a wonderful resource for Nashville.
Let's talk about one of my favorite areas of Gilda's Club.
I know what's coming.
You totally know where I'm going with this. Some people may need a definition of a noogie, but I do not. I happen to know what a noogie is because I am of that age. Tell us about noogies and Noogie Land, please.
Again, back to Saturday Night Live days. Bill Murray's character used to give Gilda Radner's character noogies all the time. And again, keeping that essence of Gilda and of humor, and to keep that.
Give me a noogie so people can see.
Oh.
That's a noogie.
That's a noogie. Oh, that's perfect. And your hair still looks good too. Yep, that's a noogie. So that just keeps that playful humor alive, and it's perfect for what we call Noogie Land, which is our children's area, children and family. For a child to watch a parent go through a cancer diagnosis, or a grandparent, for a 5 or 8 or 10-year-old to try to grasp what is happening around them. And all of that is just, it's so scary. How do they begin to be able to talk about it? And that's what Noogie Land is for. Noogie Land is there to help children ages 5 to 12 be able to utilize medical play, to work with our child life specialist on language. And a lot of this is through games. And they work one-on-one and also in groups with our child life specialist, and some of the different programs we do throughout the year on arts activities, medical play activities.
Tell us about medical play. That's not a term I've heard before. What is that?
Well, you know what? Our child life specialist is, her training is obviously geared towards working with children in this kind of situation, but her creativity is off the charts. One of the things that she did in Noogie Land is she built medical equipment like an MRI and a CT scan, so that she could sit on the floor with children and talk about what these things are and what they do.
Tell me what a teenage experience might be like at Gilda's Club.
I really think our teen program, and one of the groups actually that has been the most active and ongoing, is called Been There, Done That. And that is a group of teenagers who had cancer as children. And they continue to get together. They meet with each other to talk about the issues going on in their life, and they have the support of one of our clinicians in doing that. And many of them also volunteer to help with Noogie Land activities. So they not only are still engaged with Gilda's Club to be able to help themselves through some difficult times, but also to lend their experience to others and younger ones who are going through it.
You have that wonderful art facility. Let's talk about art, of
Yes.
course. What happens in an art class?
So with our creative art workshops, you don't have to know a thing. Everything that we offer is geared towards beginners to everything in between. People may want to be part of community, connect with other people, engage with them, but a support group might not be their thing. That might be too intimate, too challenging, just someplace they're maybe not ready to go. And so creative art workshops are a great entry point. So there's lots of socializing, there's lots of getting to know each other. And it's not just getting to know each other about cancer, it's getting to know each other as whole people. There's quilting and glass painting and watercolors, acrylics, different times of years we've had ornament making and those beautiful decorative eggs, like all the hand painting, which is really kind of a meditative experience. And again, you don't have to have any experience having done those things. It's really about coming together as a community and finding a place to express. So it's pretty wonderful.
My name is Jim Corum, and I am a board member at Gilda's. All the staff here and then the members have just such a caring nature. People want to be here, people feel at ease here, and that is an environment that is intentional, that's created, and I think goes very well to the well-being of people going through what, in some cases, very emotional time in their lives, and it's easy to get emotional about it. It's the most do-good organization that I've ever been a part of, and feel-good organization, and it's just truly a blessing to this community, and I'm personally just excited to have a small part in that process.
And I know you know that by federal law, channels like NECAT can't solicit donations on behalf of other nonprofits, and what nonprofit doesn't need funding? But so I am certain that viewers watching right now want to know how they can further the endeavors of Gilda's Club. So my question to you is, not talking money, how can someone help Gilda's Club?
There's a lot of different ways. There really are a lot of different ways. One of the things that people come to us often is they want to volunteer. And that could be volunteering in our space and offering an area of expertise. So earlier,
Teaching an art class or a music class? Or
exactly. So earlier when I referenced support groups and things like that, all of those are facilitated by paid staff or paid contract support.
Okay.
But all of the cooking classes, movement classes, creative arts classes, lectures, workshops, all of that is offered by volunteers. I think one of the most important ways that people can help is knowing who we are, because the reality is 40% of people, almost 40% of people, will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. So if you're one of the people who's not personally diagnosed, chances are there's someone in your life you know. If folks watch this program and interview and they take away nothing else, Gilda's Club is free support for anyone touched by cancer. And so if you know someone in your life who's touched by cancer, who could benefit from a community of people who just get it, share that. Visit our website, come for a tour, and learn more.
Okay, here we go. It's going to be the speed round of questions.
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Speed round with Sandy Obazinski. True or false? More than 30,000 Tennesseans receive a cancer diagnosis every year.
True.
True or false? Laughter decreases stress hormones and increases immune cells and infection-fighting antibodies.
Absolutely true.
Thank goodness. What is your best advice? This is a big one.
Okay.
What is your best advice for a person whose loved one has been diagnosed with cancer?
You know, every person and every circumstance is unique. So I think just sort of remembering that as a baseline, the first most important thing that anyone can do for their loved one is to be fully present and to listen.
This is an easier one. Phew. True or false? A person will make friends at Gilda's Club.
Oh, absolutely.
True or false? A teenager can learn to play guitar at Gilda's Club.
Yes. Yeah, we offer guitar lessons and ukulele.
Well, true or false? A kindergartner can get noogies in Noogie Land at Gilda's Club.
Definitely. They can give them too,
Oh, all right.
with permission.
I'm definitely going to Noogie Land as soon as we can. What's the best thing about your job?
The best thing, you know, I've worked in nonprofit for 10 years, and in that time, I've had varying experiences of being just really up close with the impact of the mission. And I think the best thing is that I'm in relationship with that every day.
Mm-hmm. What's your website?
Our website is www.gildasclubmiddletn.org.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thanks so much.
It's our Nashville.